Hello, it is your Astro Coach Sarah here for a different kind of video. I have not done something like this before, but I wanted to give it a whirl and see what I can do with it. These are going to be 3-year 2025 to 2028 sun and rising sign forecasts. Now, for this video, I am only going to be focusing on Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. And so I will mention a couple of like dates that I feel like are important, but I'm not going to be looking at moons. I'm not going to be looking at eclipses, Mercury retrogrades, all that sort of stuff that'll come along in time. But I kind of want to give you a little backstory about me. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you probably know this. If you are friends with me or you've been in coaching communities with me, then you probably know this, or you've heard me talk about this before. But if you're new to me, new to my work, I have a personal development coaching background, as well as an education background, and got into astrology because I was looking for answers to not only myself, but everything that was happening in 2020. But prior to that, I had been through a very dark time in my life. About 2010 to 2012 was a very dark period of my life. So about what, 15 or so years ago, 13 to 15 years ago. And I had this idea in my head. And at the time, I didn't know anything about spiritual work. I was, raised Christian, became Catholic, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't know anything about about spiritual work. I didn't know anything about channeling, downloads, intuition. Like I knew about gut feelings, as many of us do. But I had this thought in my head after working 5 years, full time, 40 plus hours a week, as a provider, in the tech. And actually, I was working with technology back then. I was a tech instructor. And I had this thought in my head in 2010 to 2012. I'm like, this society that we live in is not sustainable for humanity because I cannot be the only person who literally mentally, emotionally, physically lost my shit while trying to work full time, manage a house. I was like in my late 20s, early 30s, and was under the pressure to get married, have a family. I'm like, how the fuck am I supposed to do that? I don't even feel like having a social life. And I didn't. I had no interest in a social life. I had no interest in my hobbies, and whatnot. And I just kept thinking, like, I can't be the only person who feels like this culture is not sustainable and not healthy. And I didn't want to live a life where I didn't feel good. And yet here I was, this was back then, 2010 to 2012, like just literally paralyzed, in my bed, on my couch. I had no ambition. I had ambition, but I didn't know how to like attain it. I didn't know how to get after it. It wasn't until my coach's training program in 2017 to 2018 that I started to turn a corner. And that's when I started listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he would have people on like Cameron Haynes and Jocko Willink. And I started listening to basically their content, Jocko's content, Cameron Haynes's content. Who else was in that? Eric Thomas, um, and all these people. And I was also going through my 12-month intense personal transformation program while learning to be a leadership coach. And I was like kind of coming out of the depression, like noticing that I was getting a bit more motivated. By this point, I'm practicing judo 2 to 4 times a week. I'm doing triathlon training. Ended up doing the Chicago Triathlon in 2018, most magical experience I've ever had in Chicago. But I, was doing all of this work and still not understanding myself. That's when I got into astrology and started tracking the moon and all of those things. And it's why I do moon based astrology forecasts, is because of that. But still in my head, I'm like, this is not sustainable. And I had, people coming at me in all directions, like, this is just what adults do. And I'm like, that don't make it right. And I've been that person most of my life where somebody says to me, this is just how it's always gone or how we've always done it. And in my and now I respond with, that doesn't mean it's right or it makes sense or it works for everyone. And so here we are in the mid 2020s, and I knew coming into this decade, something's going to upset this decade that's going to test humanity in ways we cannot fathom. And again, didn't know astrology at the time when I was thinking these things and saying these things. I'm like, something's going to happen. And 2020 happened. But I was like, nah, that can't be the end of it. That can't be the end of it. Well, here we are in 2025. We have Pluto in Aquarius for the first time in 250 years, or something like that, 260 years. We have Neptune having moved into Aries for the first time in 160 years. We have Saturn making his usual 30-year transit or loop around, and back in Aries for the first time in 30 years. And we have Uranus moving from Taurus into Gemini for the first time in 80 something years. And so, good Lord, that's a lot of now perspective here. Think about what I just said. Pluto's over 200 years, Neptune's over 150 years. Yes, Saturn all the time, for the most part, but Uranus 80 something years. And all of these planets are changing signs in less than a year. That's significant. And what's even more significant is that Neptune and Saturn are both moving into Aries. And so I'm recording this on May 19th. Very soon here, Saturn and Neptune are going to start doing a little dance in a conjunction that will culminate on February 20th, 2026 at 0 degrees Aries. This to me is like, holy shit, we have this chance to make anew, right? Whatever this feels like, looks like for you. But I'm going to tell you that the next 3 years, Saturn in Aries, is going to be the biggest test of your lifetime, no matter how old you are. It's going to be the biggest test of your lifetime because Saturn is at fall, right? The planets have dignities. There are signs that they do exceedingly well in, signs that they are comfortable in, signs that they're just not as potent, and then signs where they just suffer, right? And feel like shit in, right? If we look at the moon is at home in Cancer because it rules Cancer. It's therefore at detriment in Capricorn because the moon likes to feel and Capricorn doesn't like to feel. Capricorn likes to work. It's exalted in Taurus because indulgence and things that, material things that make us feel good. And then in Scorpio, it's at fall because Scorpio's dark and the moon's uncomfortable because it's so dark and it likes Cancerian things that are like warm and fuzzy and shit. But the moon doesn't do, so the moon doesn't do well in Scorpio. So the case with Saturn's home signs are Capricorn and Aquarius. Therefore, its detriment signs are Cancer and Leo. Its exaltation, or where it is the best, is in Libra because Saturn likes justice and Libra likes balance. So therefore, it is at fall in Aries. It doesn't have strength. It doesn't have its best resources. It doesn't find balance there because there is no balance. Aries is I am, me, all the damn time, right? So we have Saturn at fall, meaning it's not going to be as strong, but it's also going to be like restricting the individual because that's what Saturn does, right? Neptune, on the other hand, is flow with the ocean, creative and fun and artsy. And it's also gas and liquids and liquid medications and fuel and all of these things. And Neptune rules the seas, right? Its home is in Pisces, which is Poseidon, the god of the seas. And so Neptune's coming into Aries bringing its foggy, spiritual, creative wisdom with it, with Saturn. So you're not going to have the resources to be creative, but you're going to have to be creative, right? You're not going to have the support. You're not going to have the extras, the luxuries, right? Because Saturn's going to restrict, but then Neptune's going to demand that you be creative and that you innovate, right? Now let's add to the mix. We have Uranus going from Taurus, where is actually at fall in Taurus because Uranus is exalted in Scorpio. And so it's at fall in Taurus, but it has no dignity in Gemini. However, Gemini is an air sign and Uranus is the god of the skies. So you can certainly expect to see some things with travel and potentially air travel more than we've already seen. And perhaps even short distance travel with vehicles on the road, people being a little bit more chaotic on the road because we haven't seen enough of that. Like if you thought that we had seen the chaos, I feel like the next 3 years is going to like fuck people up because it's going to be so loud and chaotic. So Uranus and Gemini. To me, this just screams like people are going to be mentally fatigued. People are going to have lightning bolt intuitive ideas, but perhaps not know what to do with them, or perhaps like not have the resources to do with it. But I feel like this is like the time for the hustlers who can also maintain their mental and emotional well-being. So hopefully over the last 5 years, or at least in however long you've been following me here on YouTube or any other platform, you have practiced both taking action and hustle, as well as managing your mental and emotional well-being, because this is what I do. This is how I help you, is I help you balance the masculine and feminine energies, right? So Uranus in Gemini, and then Pluto's in Aquarius. Pluto in Aquarius for the people. Aquarius is technology, it's the skies, it's ruled by Uranus. And so we have that relationship between Pluto and Uranus, or yeah, the placement of Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini. And so we're going to put all these together and give you a good outlook as to what the next 3 years might bring for you. So to get a little perspective, I would really invite you to think back to 2017, 2018, and since then, and really see where Uranus has shown up for you. Strangely enough, that's when I started listening to all of, Jocko and all those guys, which led to Andy Frisella and the 75 Hard program, which is about mental discipline. And less than a week ago, I, for random, whatever reason, started listening to Andy Frisella's Real AF podcast again. I hadn't listened to it in a long time and I just needed some motivation, and here we go. And so, we may be seeing some like echoes from what you started doing in 2017, 2018 that's now coming into, a different use, right? It's kind of like reading the same book twice, right? I've read Big Magic by, what is it, Elizabeth Gilbert. I've read that book twice. It resonates different every time. I've read multiple books multiple times in my life, and they resonate differently every time. I have read Little Women every decade of my adult life. I have not read it this decade. I need to. And so I've read different books in different times of my life, and they resonate differently. So I really invite you to do the same, that, even if something didn't resonate before, maybe go back and revisit that, and see how it resonates now for you. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show a couple of charts. Now, what I've done with the charts is I've removed everything except the planets that I've mentioned and the sun and the moon. And so we're not going to talk about personal planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, although important in various transits that are going to happen over the next 3 years. But I didn't want to be overwhelmed, to be honest, by that. Okay, and then one more thing I want to talk about that's really important, especially if you have predominant earth and water in your birth chart, is that we will not have an outer planet in an earth sign until 2027. So we are not going to have connection to earth, meaning a couple of things. And Pluto's in Aquarius, which is population decline, right? So unfortunately, we don't get through this without talking about decline. But I think that you can see by just talking about Aries and Gemini, is the world's going to get really fucking loud. Aries is Mars, and Aries is the god of war. And so we are definitely going to have more war type things happening. And so, that's something to just keep in mind. But it's going to be one of those, like, while there's a war going on, like, you don't have to participate, number one. And number two, you can still pursue your ambitions, your intentions, and all sorts of things like that. Okay, so grounding or connecting with earth. I see a couple of things here. Number one, if you have good grounding practices, congratulations. Be intentional, be conscious, meditate, yoga, get outside, touch earth, touch trees, listen to the birds when you go outside. Don't crank your music up, pull your AirPods out, your earphones out, put your hood down, really listen to nature. Listen to what's going on around you, be with what is going on around you, because that's going to help you stay grounded, and connected to not only the planet that we live on, but your physical body. And that is going to be very important because we do not have a lot of physical body support energy over the next couple of years here. As I'm recording this, Jupiter is in Gemini, going to be going into Cancer, where he is exalted. So that could be really good, but it's also a water sign and it's emotional and all of those things. And so he does not go into Virgo until July of 2027. And so we're really going to need to be attentive to earth things, physical things, including our body and the planet that which we live on. So, in a geographical perspective, you can certainly expect more storms, more earthquakes, more fires, more firestorms, those sorts of things. But I'm kind of leaving that out of this conversation because I really want to focus on like what y'all can be doing individually to excel yourself or thrive through this time. And this is coming from me who thrived in 2020 when everybody was shut down. Thankfully, I was in Arizona, so I didn't have as many restrictions, but I thrived in 2020. I connected with people in virtual spaces. I wrote a book in 2020. I learned and got my Reiki 2 certification, started learning astrology. Basically, what happened was I was living in Arizona and I got to Arizona like 2 weeks before everything shut down. So I didn't know anybody. I knew 3 people because I had 3 friends who lived there. I guess 2 actually. I knew 2 people. The person that I was staying with and another friend that I had known for a long time. And so I didn't know anybody. So I just threw myself into learning things and thrived in 2020. So, ended up meeting some pretty cool people, met a couple of which I still talk to, but not really, and that's okay. But I thrived in 2020. So you can thrive under any circumstances, restricted or not. So I think, this is kind of that, like, you're gonna have to do the damn thing when you don't have the support, the resource, to do the damn thing. You're going to have to do the damn thing because concurrently, while we have this Aries energy with Neptune and Saturn, we have this air energy of Gemini and of Uranus and Gemini and Pluto and Aquarius, where it's like, be fucking crazy, be weird, be the weird thing. Take advantage of this in the best way possible by throwing spaghetti at the wall, by trying to pull the tablecloth out from under all of the things on the table. Like, it's that kind of thing where you can experience something really magical, and it may not be instantaneous magic. It may be long haul magic, and that's kind of the thing. This is for the strategists and the chess players, and which I'm not, by the way. If you've ever played like diplomacy or uh, um, I can't think of another like strategy game. I'm not good at these games, but that's okay. I'm still, gonna pretend to be a strategist and go with what I know. But I would say during this time, I'm probably going to be publishing at least one book. And so there's that, and maybe launching some group coaching programs around that book. And so I'm kind of excited about that. But anyway, for you, however, this is going to be like Saturn is the long haul, while Aries is the sprinter. Saturn and Neptune are very slow. And so, as is Pluto, Uranus, but Uranus, which is very quick, and he's going to be in Mercury signs. So there could be some really quick, explosive type things, or like sparkly type things. But for the most part, what you're doing is you're setting the stage for how you want to build this new era of your life. Like this is literally like forget everything from before, forget your traumas, forget your blames and shames and all that, and step into this newness, like, because we've all been through something, right? We've all had traumas, we've all had blames, we've all had shames, we've all been victim, we've all been victimized, we've all been through some level where we weren't treated properly or um, with the best, but now we all get to start something new. And I'm telling you right now, if you're continuing to waller in your shit stew, your stew of shit, you're going to get walloped by the fire of Aries and then blown chaotically through the lightning storm of Uranus and Gemini. And I don't say that as a threat. I don't say that as a fear mongering. I say that as in you need to deal with your own shit on your own time. Okay. I am more and more and more scrolling past YouTube videos, TikTok videos of people who are telling me their sob story because unfortunately people are starting to use that as a way of getting money because they want me to watch their 60-second video so they can get paid for it. No, sorry, I don't give a fuck. Um, I think you'll start to see people get really much more selfish and self-centered and self-absorbed in their own projects. And if you can't keep up and hold your own and carry your own, bye. We're done. We're done. So, okay, I think that's it. So keep yourself grounded, keep connected to your physical body. Know that people will be more and more authentic. And that might mean that they're more asshole than usual. They're more bitchy than usual. They're colder than usual. Because we don't have, we, beyond the North Node being in Pisces, we don't have a lot of compassion and empathy. And I'm not saying don't be, sympathetic to people, but I mean, okay, you got your moment to have your pity party, but get your shit back together and let's go. Think about this as a long time, 3 year, 75 hard challenge of mental toughness, because that's literally what it's going to take. And if you don't know about 75 hard, go look up Andy Frisella, go look up the Real AF podcast and listen to what he talks about with 75 hard, because that's what I feel like this is going to be. Is 3 years of 75 hard. Maybe not like completely that strict, but you never know how restricted it could get. And the point is that if it's going to be restricted, don't you want to choose your own discipline about it? Just there. Okay, let's look at some charts and dive into your sun and rising sign forecast. Of course, this video will be timestamped. Please like it. Please leave a comment. Please share it. Let's see if we can boost this up and get my channel. I'm close to 400 subs, and I would really like to see me get to 400 or 500 this year. And that may come this year, meaning 2025. That may come with the publication process, which starts very soon. So let's see what we got in the charts. Let's take a look at them. Hold on one second. Alrighty. So this first chart we're looking at is February 20th, 2026. This is the exact Saturn-Neptune conjunction. You can see it over on the left-hand side of the screen. It's at 0 degrees Aries and 44 geometric minutes. The sun's in Pisces. just entered Pisces, in fact, but we have Uranus at 27 degrees of Taurus, which is where Uranus is right now as I'm filming this. But let's just say that Neptune is, as of May 19th, when I'm filming this, in Aries, will retrograde back into Pisces. Saturn enters Aries on May 25th, will retrograde back into Pisces. Uranus will enter Gemini in early July 2025, but will obviously retrograde back to Taurus. So we're going to be dancing here for a year of these planets getting where they need to get for the next several years. But this is that conjunction. Like I said, it's February 20th, 2026. You can see Pluto is at 4 degrees Aquarius. And Jupiter, oh, I did leave Jupiter in here. Jupiter is well into Cancer. Oh, I think I did that for a reason. But like I said, I didn't put any of the personal planets in here. I really wanted to focus on these outer planets and where they are. But you can even see, just looking at this chart, we have Pluto in an air sign, the sun in water, the moon and Saturn and Neptune in fire. Jupiter is in Cancer, but Uranus is in, which I don't call that grounded Earth, because Uranus is far from grounded. Okay, so then this chart, we have the first Sun-Uranus conjunction in Gemini. By this point, Neptune's at 2 degrees of Aries and Saturn is at 11 degrees of Aries. This happens on May 22, so about a year from now, 2026. When we have that Saturn-Uranus cazimi, which we just had the last one in Taurus a couple of days ago from the filming of this. Pluto's at retrograde at 5 Aquarius. And so you're going to see Uranus and Pluto in an ongoing trine, an air trine. So to me, that indicates that we are going to have some pretty rapid advances in intellectual things, intellectual property, technology, travel, air travel, communications, AI, hybrids, as in hybrid beings, things like that. Could also be some interstellar, extraterrestrial type of things. This could also be seriously like psychic senses going bonkers. And Aries rules the head. So Aries rules the head, Gemini rules pairs, so lungs, arms, things like that. And Aquarius rules joints, like ankle joints, wrist joints, bones, electrical activity in the heart. So we really could see more, and Aries not only rules the head, but it rules blood, and blood things, cutting, surgeries, that sort of thing. We could really see anything from health-related issues around blood, around the lungs, around the head, around neurological type things, heart-related things, the electrical system, the circulatory system. But we could also see people really stepping into advanced use of psychic senses or psychic healing potentials. If you've ever watched Star Trek Voyager, and you remember Kes, Kes had to leave Voyager because her physical body could not contain her telekinetic abilities, and she had to leave the ship. And people talk about like why don't we get these things like boom, 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 boom. Listen, if we did, our physical bodies wouldn't be able to contain the frequency of all of that. So we've been getting it over time via not only transits and cosmic conversations in astrology, but also with solar energies that have been amplifying over the last stretch of time. And so, with this trine and these air signs, you can certainly expect um, uh, um, a lot of different things related to psychic senses, a lot of different things related to technology, and AI and hybrid beings and all of that. And so. I've said this a few times recently, but like humanity really has a choice here, as a whole and individually. And it's kind of like individually, do you really want to be an asshole, but do you want to be truthful? One of my coach colleagues used to say when, because I was such a brash coach, and she's like, well, you can't sugarcoat an arm bar, because I was into martial arts at the time. And it's true. We can't sugarcoat everything forever. We can't coddle people forever. That's kind of how we got where we got now, where people don't have a drive and ambition. Um, and they're so victim and needing compassion and needing empathy. And I'm not saying don't be those things, but I'm saying like there's a point where like, okay, yeah, I get your situation and move the fuck on. So but this is what I mean by if you don't move on, you're going to get walloped, and just whisked away by all of the air and fire. Anyway, so this is a year from now, May 22, 2026. And then the last chart that I have, I didn't want to go too deep in charts. Um, this is July, well, practically August, but July 29, 2027. So a couple of years from now, this is the first time we will get any Earth in our chart for 2 years, when Jupiter enters Virgo, in July of 2026. But you can see, Pluto's in an air sign. You've got Neptune and Saturn still in Aries. Saturn's almost done. And then on this chart, we have the moon and Uranus in Gemini, and the sun in Leo when the Jupiter moves into Virgo. But that's not till mid-year 2027. So we've got a couple of years here where we will not have outer planets and earth signs to help and support us. We're just going to have the personal planets, and the sun and the moon moving through earth signs to keep us grounded, to help us connect with our physical body. Now, I wanted to say one more thing. I'm going to get to these sun signs. People who practice ascension and spiritual work and connect with the ethers are the same people who forget that you're here to have a human experience, right? Yes, be spiritual, be connected, be all of those things. And remember that you're here to experience humanity fully. And so I could really see, people who practice ascension take themselves out, even if by accident, because they are so insistent on continuing to ascend, or elevate themselves that they forget to tune into their physical body. And so I don't know what that might look like, whether it's like accidental death or accidental suicide, things like that. I do think suicide is going to continue to be, a relatively huge problem. I think people are going to take themselves out. Like this world's going to get too stressful. This world's going to get too violent. It's going to get too chaotic. It's going to get too loud. And it is going to be all of those things. But the idea with practicing spirituality, learning astrology, understanding humanity is that yes, things are going to be loud. They're going to be chaotic. They're going to be violent. There is going to be, bloodshed, but it does not have to affect your daily life. It may, but it does not have to. Um, so, yeah, you're gonna have to really be disciplined and really be conscientious, be attentive to everything you consume, from food to beverages to spirits to substances to sugar to information, social media, um, news media, what spiritual practitioners you follow, what church you go to, um, what books you read. Consumption is everything that you take in any way, and that is through all of your senses. So your eyes that see the screen, your ears that hear the audio book, your head that absorbs everything, your nose that you smell. Are you smelling chemicals? Are you filling your house with chemical fragrances? The food that you taste. And don't get me wrong, enjoy the fucking Oreos. I get it, okay? Um, but there's an overindulgence that, you get sick or you get digestive problems or hormone imbalances and all of those things. So it's like, be attentive. But your makeup, your sunscreen, your perfume, your like these are things we don't think about. Essential oils. Are you using good quality essential oils or are you using shit from Walmart? Like some oils are really shitty and have a lot of fillers. Same with supplements, right? A lot of supplements, if you're buying like cheap ass multivitamins, it's full of shit that your body can't process. Same with food. I'm not saying don't go have McDonald's. I'm guilty too, okay? But what I'm saying is be attentive to these things. Treat yourself, but don't overindulge, right? Okay, so let's get into the sun and rising signs. Of course, do your rising sign, then your sun sign. Also, feel free to work with me. I have the Astro Goals, which is a free 30-minute session. I have the wellness astrology, full chart reading. You can also get Astro coaching, which is a 3 or 6 month commitment. It's available to you. Um, and I can not only support you with astrology, but we can work through coaching tools and whatnot to get you where you want to get. Highly recommend that for the summer as we get into this new energy. This is really a new time. This is time to say goodbye, close the door, close the vault on bullshit you've been through, trauma you've been through, bullshit relationships. Time to move on. Time to move on. Think back to April when we had that Saturn Venus North Node conjunction that lasted for what, 3 weeks in Pisces? What did you learn? What did you learn about yourself and what you need or need not take with you? So, all right, let's jump in, shall we? Okay. All right, Aries, Aries sun, Aries rising. This is your forecast for 2025 to 2028. Of course, if you want to work with me, you can do that. Links are all below. Okay, so Aries obviously is your first house, Gemini is your third house, Aquarius is your 11th house. Those are the three houses that we are talking about. There is a harmonious relationship to what's happening in your third house and your 11th house. So, and all of it kind of stems from you and how you show up to the world. However, you may be in like a dense fog because Saturn and Neptune in your first house. Like, who are you really? What do you really want to be? And how do you want to connect with both your neighbors, your siblings, or other relatives, and your friend groups? There is a possibility that you are either going to heighten your frequency or who you are, like your kindness, your generosity, to be in more aligned friend groups, or you are going to lower your frequency and become a complete dickhead asshole so that you can fit into lower vibe, lower frequency groups. And you may be legit confused as to how this is going to go. But you know, it's kind of, and also like remembering that family is family. Now, I get that people have their chosen family. I completely understand that. And yet and the chosen family would be your 11th house, Pluto and Aquarius. So for the next 18 years with Pluto and Aquarius in your 11th, your friend groups, your chosen groups are going to evolve significantly. But I think the question to ask yourself is, do you really want to let go of your siblings or other relatives or your neighbors, like develop uncomfortable relationship with that group in order to fulfill your chosen family or vice versa. So it's something to really think about and feel through. You are certainly going through a transformation with Saturn in your first house, with Neptune in your first house, where you could just be confused about who you are. And sifting through that and developing an understanding about that is really going to require you to tune into yourself. Who do you actually want to be? Do you want to be the asshole, the dick, the selfish bastard, or or do you want to be a likable person that people can actually relate to, right? This could be a really difficult time for Aries, but I also feel like coming out of it on the other side, like you're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to really be confronted. Like Saturn ain't a planet to fuck with, right? Saturn can be vicious. Um, but Saturn's also a father figure, so perhaps you are stepping into a fatherly role, or you are you dealing with your father, and how your father has had an effect on you. And so I feel like for Aries, there's going to be a lot of healing, and there's going to be some sort of harmony developed between your neighbors and siblings and other relatives, um, and your friend groups or your chosen family, however that is showing up for you. But there's definitely you having to kind of find some sort of balance or some sort of sense of yourself to support being a part of both of those groups of people. Third house is also about travel. So there could be something about vehicles, driving, like local driving. So you may want to be just extra cautious on the road. That can be said for everybody right now with this Gemini transit, but just being aware that vehicles, cars, travel, driving, you may want to be just extra cautious. Aries can be a little bit shoot from the hip. And maybe you want to just take your time and not go through the yellow light, and sit still for the next green light. So that's what I have for Aries. Taurus sun, Taurus rising. This is your forecast for the next 3 years, 2025 to 2028. And of course, you can work with me. Links are below. And so with Taurus, we are talking about Aries is your 12th house, and Gemini is your second house, and Aquarius squares your sun or rising sign in the 10th house. So you're probably getting some energy from Pluto already. But this 12th house Aries energy, your self-sabotage, your own worst enemy, which is yourself, hidden enemies, which could potentially be yourself, but also sleep things, sleep disruptions, um, uh, with Neptune there. Uranus and Gemini, I feel like is going to be your self-worth, acknowledging your self-worth. It's going to directly reflect in your career, your legacy, your public persona, that sort of thing. But I would just be conscientious that your 12th house is going to really be highlighted. And so, subconscious thoughts about yourself, getting some subconscious cleansing, because that will directly reflect your self-worth, which will ultimately directly affect your legacy. Certainly, you can expect over the next 18 years to have a change in your career, your legacy, what you're doing. And then, of course, Uranus and Gemini is money, how you make money. You could get some serious good money. Like, here's what could happen for Taurus rising. Taurus rising could realize that they don't need to grind and hustle to make big bucks. They could like literally have contract jobs or entrepreneurships or whatever that brings them huge amounts of money. But it's all going to come back to how you believe in yourself, how you value yourself, your skills, your self-worth, and acknowledging that you're a smart person, acknowledging that you're worthy, dismissing limiting beliefs. And this all goes back to that 12th house Aries with Saturn and Neptune, and feeling into and clearing that self-sabotage, worst enemy situation. 12th house is also like the suicide house. So be a little bit aware that you could, go down a dark path very easily. So you really want to tune into yourself, your own value, your worth, that you're here to be an amazing human. Tune into your body, nourish yourself really well, Taurus, because you do that, you like good food, you like good things. So but you're also stubborn as fuck. So, but I really like this one because besides Aries being your 12th house, like, that's a place to just do some work, hire a coach, do some self-exploration work, self-discovery work, and really see yourself as the brilliant person that you are. So that's what I got for Taurus. Gemini Sun, Gemini Rising. This is your forecast for 2025 to 2028. And of course, if you want to work with me, those links are below. Okay, so Uranus centering your first house. Holy shit, be prepared. Be prepared for anything, but particularly probably related to publishing, broadcasting, higher education, philosophical changes, but also groups and communities, who you're hanging with, all of those sorts of things. Gemini stands the opportunity to have great success with Uranus if you really harness and hone that Uranian energy and really make it useful for you, especially if you're somebody who is wanting to publish, wanting to broadcast. This could really be a good time to do that. Friend groups, you want to probably you really want to, because I feel like with Gemini rising, like, you kind of become a chameleon when it comes to groups and communities. You kind of conform to whatever the group and community is up to, but I don't think you're going to get away with that anymore. I feel like with Uranus, it's going to bring out the rebellious, authentic being within you, and therefore, like, not allow you to conform or chameleon yourself to blend in with other people. You're really going to have to be an authentic version of yourself, whether that's, multiple multiple personalities, or, and I get it to a point, like, because I have lots of hobbies and interests. So like sometimes when I'm around different types of people, I got to be a different kind of way. But there's also a way to, I feel like maybe this is what you're going to uncover or discover or explore about yourself, Gemini, is that there's a way to be authentically you without feeling like you are lowering yourself or dimming yourself down for other people, right? Like, I don't hide the fact that I'm an astrologer, even if I'm around, like, people who don't trust astrology, right? Don't buy into astrology. I don't need to convince people to be in my world, but I certainly don't hide the fact that I'm an astrologer, right? And I feel like that's the same thing for you, Gemini, is that you're going to find a way to be authentically you in all types of groups and communities. And that will be then reflected into, you're going to fall into like a writing group, and they're going to get you to publish your book. So, or publish your manuscript, or whatever it is, or broadcasting. Maybe you're going to launch a podcast, a group podcast. Maybe you're going to launch a group program of some sort. Something like that. But you could also shift your philosophies, maybe find the philosophies that most suit you. Maybe it's not what you thought it was this whole time. So lots of newness for you, but definitely things about your groups and communities, friend groups, chosen family, that kind of thing, going to be highlighted, but you're also going to be changing a lot because you're going to get hit by the lightning bolt of Uranus. So fun times for Gemini. I really like it for Gemini. It can be fun. Could be really invigorating for you, kind of like wake your senses up a little bit. So there you go. All right, that's what I got for Gemini. Cancer Sun, Cancer Rising. This is your forecast for the next 3 years, 2025 to 2028. Of course, if you want to work with me, the links for that are below. Cancers, you're one of the signs I would be concerned about because now granted, you're going to have Jupiter in your first house amplifying you. But you then have Uranus and Gemini in your 12th, Saturn and Neptune in your 10th, and Pluto in your 8th. This could really be disruptive to you because if you're one of those people who doesn't know how to interpret, manage, deal with, accept psychic senses, then I would say like sleeplessness, um, your dreams being very disrupted, your psychic senses are already being amplified. Now, the eighth house is also shared resources, but because you have Uranus in the 12th, I think this is more about subconscious, uh, psychic senses, things like that. And then, of course, Saturn and Neptune moving through Aries, your 10th house is probably going to square things in your first house. Really forcing you to make some decisions around your career and legacy, and like how you're choosing to be in the world, your public achievements. And so hopefully, over the last year or so, you've kind of taken a stand in your career, you've voiced yourself in your career, that can now be supportive for your career longevity or maybe shifting your career. But I feel like with cancers, there's going to be some kind of disruption, or self-sabotage when it comes to ignoring your body or not interpreting your body or not paying attention to your body and its messages, could create some health related problems. Yeah. This is one that, I mean, cancer is the one that I would be the most concerned about. One of the ones that I would be the most concerned about because it's an eighth house, 12th house, Pluto in the eighth, Uranus in the 12th. That's a lot of energy to deal with, and it's a lot of subconscious or occult, as in unseen energy. These are not like tangible houses, and many people don't know how to manage these houses, don't know how to deal with these particular areas in life. Things could come up with shared resources, particularly if you're in a business partnership or contractual partnership for business, could be shared resources. But I really feel like this is more cancers feeling their feelings, but a lot of people not wanting to do that. 12th house, as we've talked about, is kind of the addictions house, so alcohol, substances, things like that. It's also like being in your own prison or being, putting yourself in your own, like imprisoning yourself by not investigating or understanding your psychic senses. Like you could be getting epiphanies, but you don't know how to manage it. So you lose your shit, right? Lose your mind. Literally could lose their mind. Literally could get psychotic. Not joking. This could be really interesting. However, if you're a Cancer who has done some sort of healing work or spiritual work, then I would say not only tune into your third eye and crown chakra, but also make sure that you are balancing that with your solar plexus, sacral, and root chakra. In other words, get grounded, practice grounding, meditation, yoga, do things that move your body, do things that connect yourself to your physical body. Don't get stuck all up here in the ethers. Make sure you pull that energy down in through your body system so you can process it and bring it into being, especially Saturn moving through your 10th house. This could be a career move or something to that effect, right? Remember, this is about the strategists, and not just, having ideas and epiphanies and intuitive nudges, but not bringing them down. So anyway, this could be a difficult one for cancers, but I think you got this. I would say definitely get support where you need it. So if you want to hire, work with me, links are below. Leo sun, Leo rising. This is your forecast for the next 3 years, 2025 to 2028. Of course, if you want to work with me, the links are below to do so. Okay, this is all about you and relationships because Pluto's in your seventh. The Aries energy, Saturn and Neptune is in your ninth. And Uranus is coming into your 11th, which is your groups, communities, chosen family, all of those sorts of things, technology even. So you could be really innovating a group technology or a group social media type thing. But here's the thing about Leos is that you're gonna have to change your friend groups. I mean, it's inevitable. You're probably not even gonna have to try to change your friend groups, but your perspective on who you're currently hanging and chilling with is gonna change. You are just not going to be interested in the same groups of people, the same relationships, the same partnerships anymore. And I feel like that's going to have everything to do with Saturn and Neptune in your ninth, shifting your beliefs, shifting your philosophies. But Leos, you're going to have to be open to it happening. This has a lot to do with because that ninth house is going to make a harmonious trine to whatever you have in Leo. And so in Cancer, or for the first year of this, you're going to have Jupiter in Cancer, and then Jupiter is going to move through your sign in 2026 into 2027. So yeah, this is all about you and your relationship with your partner, your friends, your community, technology. You're just going to shift some philosophies and really open yourself up to, if you're an older Leo, like 40s, 50s, something like that, I've been talking about Leo stepping into a mentorship role and being the grown up. Being open to social media or even just networking in general, networking with people in a new, innovative way. Or maybe it's who you're networking with, who you are chilling with. Yeah, there's a lot here, but it all comes back to Leo's having to accept parts of themselves that they've wanted to hide, maybe. It's all about Leo's having to accept that they are shifting, that they are changing, and that they can then change their peer group, their partnerships, their associates. Uh, yeah, but it all comes back to you really working on yourself, shifting your own beliefs and philosophies on how you relate to people potentially. But yeah, I would say because Pluto's moving through your seventh over the next 18 years, there is definitely space and room for you to change your relationships. I think I said this in a video recently, like Leos are growing, and if their people can't grow with them, they got to change their people. Because Leos are stepping into a new something, something, new role, new way of being, right? As many of us are, but Leos kind of, they need the fanfare, so to speak. And maybe not so to speak, but maybe quite literally that they need the fanfare. And maybe they're to the point where they don't need the fanfare anymore. And they can kind of compartmentalize between their relationships at home and their relationships at work, or whatnot. Leos could also be stepping into a professorial or like higher education type role. Maybe even becoming like a guru, which sounds really silly, but it could be. Anyway, that's what I got for Leos. Good luck. Virgo sun, Virgo rising. This is your forecast for 2025 to 2028. Of course, if you want to work with me, you can do that. Links are below. Virgo, this is, let's see, where do you even begin? Okay, Aries is your eighth house. Gemini is your 10th house. Aries is your eighth house, which is shared resources. It's intimate relationships or contractual relationships. It's also psychic senses and the occult. Then we have Gemini, your 10th house, which is career and legacy. You can certainly expect a shakeup, shift up, breakup, groundbreaking, innovative something happening in your career and legacy. And then Pluto in Aquarius is your 6th house, which is routines, health habits, daily routines, uh, coworkers, pets, that sort of thing. So here's what I foresee for Virgos is Virgos are going to go through a metamorphosis of accepting that their routine is different, accept that it's different, and like accept it. Be okay with it being different. Maybe you're being innovative, where the rest of us are, still trying to sleep at night and study during the day, right? But whatever happens in your career in your 10th house, the will be reflected in your 6th house or vice versa. Like maybe you're going to have to shift your routine for your health, for your pet, for to have a better routine with something. That's going to then be reflected in your career, your job, whatever. But it could be the other way around too. But also tuning into your relationships, your intimate partnerships, your shared resources, other people's money. And maybe this is getting into a partnership with an investor for your business. Perhaps this is getting into a more psychic or occult type way of being. Because here's the thing, Virgos, if you like, because you're going to be, you're the grounded one in all of this, right? You're the one that's like the practical one in all of this, which is good. We're going to need you. But it's kind of like you're going to want to develop a trust in a higher power, your guardian angels, something like that. Guardian angels, God, divine source, whatever you want to call it. Developing a trust or even a communication, Virgo, mercurial words, developing a communication with those who have parted, like left you. Perhaps they have died. Perhaps they are just not in your sphere anymore. But you accepting the kind of go with the flow, innovative nature of that will harmoniously affect your daily routines, your career, right? Maybe there's divine guidance waiting from someone who has left you in life. And they're giving you messages to support you in having a career or work situation that actually supports your health, that supports your well-being, right? And this could be just as literal as you're getting a puppy and therefore your routine has to change because you now have a puppy, right? Or a cat or whatever. Could be that. You could be going to work on a farm. Virgos are the harvesters of the zodiac. So you could be going to work on a farm and interacting with animals and getting like spiritually connected to horses, right? It could literally be that. But there's definitely some harmonious communication or connection between your concerns about your health or being innovative with your health, trying new things with your health, right? Trying earthly things, oils, herbs, um, whatever it is, trying something new with your health, trying a new exercise that directly affects your 10th house, your career, your work, your legacy, right? It's never too late to start a new routine. It's never too late to start a new health habit, all of those sorts of things. But for the next few years, you're really going to be challenged to connect with things that you cannot see, touch, that are not tangible to you, that you can't, so you're going to have to connect with that in some kind of way that makes sense to you. And for you, Virgo, that could be so unique and different that it makes no sense to anybody else. And you're going to have to be okay with it not making sense to everyone else, and you're going to do it anyway. So it's like I for Virgo. Libra sun, Libra rising. This is your forecast for the next 3 years, 2025 to 2028. Of course, you want to work with me. The links are below for that. Aries is your 7th house. Relationships, partnerships. Listen, It's going to get murky out there. And I think a lot of that is because you have been transforming. You've been metamorphosing. Is that a word? Metamorphosizing, transforming, all of that. You've been becoming a different person. You're less of a people pleaser and more of a, I'm going to do it my way and I'm going to heal myself and I'm going to, all of those things. And what's going to happen is that you're healing your inner child, you're healing yourself, you're allowing yourself to be more passionate about your projects, your goals, your interests, your desires, which is going to shift your relationships to make a deeper connection. It's going to allow you to connect with people who Libra, you don't need 5,000 friends, you need 5 friends, right? You need 5 people who wholly support you, who are there for you, all of those things. You don't have to people please and be with everybody and then talk shit about them behind their back, because I'm sure that's what Libras do. I don't know, but but as you continue to heal yourself and delve more into your passion projects, right, and transform your heart into the heart that you actually want to live with, this will allow you to have deeper friendships. In the meantime, it might be a little murky and a little foggy as to who you're actually buddies with, who you're close to. Now, that Uranus in the ninth house, that could be travel. You could relocate, as in internationally. You could, shift your philosophies, and it could be shifting your philosophies about yourself, therefore shifting your relationships. It could be shifting your philosophies, like you don't agree with where you currently live, so you got to move somewhere else because that aligns more with your philosophies, which allows you to open your heart. Pluto in the fifth, and then allows you to have more aligned friendships, partnerships that actually are in alignment, and you don't even feel the need to talk shit about them behind their back because they're super cool and they actually like you, want to work with you, want to be around you, and yeah, it all works together, doesn't it? But that ninth house is definitely going to get a hit from Uranus, which could create opportunities for you to just shift your philosophies about driving. Maybe you don't drive and you're now going to shift your philosophies about driving, or traveling in general, so that you can broaden your social circle, and not broaden as in have more friends, but broaden as in have the 5 friends who actually align with you, and want to support you. So lots of work here for Libra. You're also going to have Jupiter in your 10th house for a while here. So that could be supportive with your legacy and what you want to leave behind. And do you really want to leave behind that you were a people pleaser and that you conformed and chameleoned to what everybody else wanted and just kept the peace? Or do you want to just, be yourself and expand who you are, have a career and a legacy that you freaking love because you've healed your heart, you've healed your inner child wounds, all of those sorts of things for Libra. So, that's fun for Libra, right? Okay, that's what I got for Libra. Scorpios, Scorpio sun, Scorpio rising. Oh yeah. Okay, so Scorpio, this Aries is your 6th house, Aquarius is your 4th house, and Gemini is your 8th house. So I don't know about the rest of you Scorpio risings. I'm not particularly looking forward to this Uranus and Gemini stuff. I think it's going to be wicked fast, and Scorpios are going to be like, what the fuck? Hold on, wait for me. And that can be said for many people. If you are slower to process and slower to absorb energy, or slower because you're conscientious of absorbing energy, Uranus in your 8th house, Uranus and Gemini could be really difficult. But here's the thing. You got Pluto in your 4th house. The greater, the more stable, the more supportive your home, your foundation, first of all, the better your health will be, because Scorpios, you tend to bring things into your physical body, and take on too much. That can be said for any of the water signs. So Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, you tend to take on too much. So you're kind of going to need some sort of safe haven to come home to. So you're going to want your home to be your safe haven, your foundation, the people who you live with to be the best they can be. And that will support you in moving through the crazy occult psychic stuff that's going to happen in your eighth house. Now, your eighth house could also be shared resources, meaning you could have a contractual relationship, whether that is a business relationship or a marital relationship. But also we got to talk about that sixth house, Aries, health, well-being, daily routines, solidifying those things. Excuse me. Solidifying your daily routines, being conscientious of potentially being accident prone, injuries. Saturn does rule bones and teeth, so could be dental things. Neptune could make it confusing and could make it difficult to be in a solid routine. But you're going to have to be conscientious of that. And again, it goes back to your fourth house of like, you know, having a home, having a foundation that is super supportive because you're going to be you know, Scorpio, like I said, this is kind of a lifetime thing. Like you're going to have to get intimate, with relationships in order to have the intimate partner, or family or work coworkers, business partners who can actually support you. So if you're someone who, like me, is a Scorpio with very little fire, like I have a Scorpio rising and a Scorpio moon, I have very little fire in my chart. If I were to choose a business partner, I would choose somebody who has fire. I would choose somebody who has, you know, a strong Aries placement or a strong Sagittarius placement, something like that. Probably actually not Sag, but maybe a Leo placement. And the reason I say that is because I need somebody to light a fire under my butt, right? I don't do that well on my own. I don't light fires under myself on my own, right? I don't launch things. I don't take action on things. I can create, I can do all of the flowy feminine things, but I can't do all of the masculine things. And so if you're anything like that, like me, then you may want to choose your business partner, your colleagues, your I've noticed that over the years that I've been doing this work, whether it's coaching work or astrology work, is that when I'm around some people who are Aries, who have some Aries in their chart, whether it is their Aries sun or Aries rising, I do better. I am more like fired up to get shit done. And so you may want to choose accordingly who you are in partnership with. Now, that being said, you do not probably want somebody who is all over fire. Like I know somebody who's a Leo rising and a Sag sun, and that is way too much fire. So you kind of want to like be critical, conscientious of who you're choosing to be with. You also probably don't want somebody who's as flowy, watery as you are because then you're never going to get shit done, right? So, um, but I mean, this is something to really explore and to notice when you're around people. How do you function? How do you operate? When do you feel safe? When do you feel secure? Because that safety and security is going to allow you to open up to your psychic potentials, and really use your gifts in a more structured way. And also, if you have somebody who's super supportive, then you may not have to carry all of the groceries in and therefore lessen your risk of injury when you trip and fall. So, and if you're anything like me, you trip over a crack in the sidewalk. So, anyway, so I would say for the next 3 years, be focused on who you're sharing space with, who you are sharing business with, and all of those things so that you can be around the people who not only align with you, but will also kind of like light the fire under your ass so you'll actually get work done. So anyway, that's all I got for Scorpio. Sagittarius, Sagittarius sun, Sagittarius rising. This is your forecast for the next 3 years, 2025 to 2028. And so, of course, if you want to work with me and get more in tune to your chart, links are below for that. Okay, so we are talking about Aries being or well, let's start with Gemini because that's your seventh house, relationships. So for the next 8 years or so, your relationships are gonna go through it. And I've just been through that, Uranus in my seventh house, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Let me just tell you. Sucked. Your relationships will change. Inevitably, they will change. And while it was happening, I hated it. But now on the other side of it, I'm like, okay, I understand the assignment. Um, but that also puts Aries, so Saturn and Neptune in your fifth house, which is your inner child. It's creativity, it's your passions. So pursuing your passions, getting after your passions. You're one of those signs. It's like you're gonna have to be extra about, being creative, being disciplined with your creativity, your passion projects, things like that. You could notice relationships between communication and relationships, not only friendships, but with Pluto in your third, your relationships with your siblings, extended family members, cousins, aunts, uncles, that kind of thing, really shifting, or healing, or something sparking them or something like that, like reconnecting with a sibling, reconnecting with a long lost family member could be happening. Maybe even as you're pursuing, if you're pursuing something new, as a passion project, you might reconnect with a relative because that relative also does that thing. This could be maybe even like ancestral connections, like you may notice something. But certainly your friendships, your partnerships, gonna take a change, gonna take a hit. It's okay. You'll get through it too. But how you communicate will change. How you because Gemini is communication, third house is communication, which is where Pluto is. So how you communicate, what you communicate about in relationships, whether it's with siblings or with partners, will definitely shift. Maybe how you talk about your passion projects, how you talk about your creative ventures, things like that will definitely shift. So that's fun. That's exciting. I kind of like that for Sagittarius. So enjoy it. Okay. Capricorn Sun, Capricorn Rising. This is your forecast for the next 3 years, 2025 to 2028. Of course, if you want to work with me, links are below. Okay, so Aries is your fourth house. So you're really going to want to focus on your home. And things might be keeping you at home, which could shift your work routines. And Gemini is your sixth house, so that makes sense. And Pluto is transiting through your second house, which is about your self-worth. So your self-worth in being at home. You also may want to be attentive to household flooding or water-related situations like the plumbing or septic or whatever could be a thing during this time. Like your septic gets blocked up or something, or your plumbing gets blocked up. I feel like that could be a thing with Saturn and Neptune in your fourth house. But really, for Capricorn, as you are with Pluto in your second, you're transforming your self-worth and how you earn money. And Uranus in your sixth house, you could have accidents, you could have injuries, you could have in any sort of way, like shakeups in your coworkers, shakeups in your work routines, because you may be switching jobs to spend more time at home. Maybe you're semi-retired. Maybe you now have children. Something like that could be a factor, or maybe you're working less because you've realized your value, and therefore you're charging more for your services because you want to spend more time at home, which could change your routines because now instead of working 6 days a week, you only need to work two, and you're still making the same amount of money. So really, this could be a good thing for Capricorn, not having to work as hard to make the same amount of money, to create or acquire the same amount of money. Or maybe you are going to set up a shop, an online shop, and therefore your business kind of runs itself because people can just purchase from your shop. Something like that. So I think Capricorns are learning that they don't have to work themselves to a pulp, in order to have what they want. But Capricorns are certainly going to be focused on home and things happening at home. This could be, again, many things. This could be something to do with plumbing, but this could also have something to do with, mothering, motherhood, or something like that. Shifting how you relate as a mom or to your mom could be a factor for Capricorns. So, acknowledging your self-worth, paying attention to your home, particularly plumbing, and paying attention to your daily routines, your health habits, and all of that sort of thing is what I'm feeling for Capricorn. Enjoy. Aquarius. Aquarius Sun, Aquarius Rising. This is your forecast for the next 3 years, 2025 to 2028. Of course, Pluto is in your first house, so you have no choice but to transform. It's going to happen regardless. And then we have Aries is your third house and Gemini is your fifth house. So time to communicate how you feel about things, how you feel about children. Fifth house is the house of love. So with Uranus in your fifth house, if you do or do not want to get pregnant, practice accordingly. But Aquarius, I mean, it's time to have fun. It's time to be playful. It's time to have some love, have some passion, communicating that, communicating how you feel. Aquarians tend to not talk about how they feel about things. Feelings are stupid, according to Aquarians. But the thing is feelings are not stupid. It's just that Aquarians feel very deeply. And they have a lot of emotion around humanity. So you could start the ball rolling with a humanitarian project or something like that. But really, because these are so focused on you because of Pluto in your first, passion, love, and stepping into a more visibility role in your creativity is definitely something that could be happening. Your ability to communicate might get a little bit wonky, weird, but yet outspoken. So you may communicate like the teacher from the Peanuts cartoons, but it's going to be like loud. Like there may not be clarity, but you're going to talk about things that you don't normally talk about, but it may not make sense to the average Joe, if that makes sense. Maybe this is writing, though. You could be writing a book. You could be writing a narrative. You could be writing a blah, 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 erotic fiction, right? You could be writing about sex. You could be writing about intimacy. You could be writing about something like that, like writing these stories, right? Writing about affairs, writing, you know what I'm saying? Like Aquarians have a little fun in a naughty sort of way. That could be fun. I actually know an Aquarius rising who should totally be writing everything she knows about the dirt and the gossip about her friends over the years. And I think that it would be very soap opera-y entertaining. People would freaking love it. Anyway, we'll see. But yeah, so I feel like Aquarians, you could be writing the next great series of books. You could be, again, you could be getting into a romantic partnership, something like that. You could be getting into a more outgoing role as a romantic partner, getting more passionate with your romantic partner, things like that. So I love that for Aquarius. I hope you enjoy and I hope you have fun, Aquarius. It's okay to have fun. It's okay to smile, Aquarius. Okay, that's all I got for Aquarius. And of course, Pisces, Pisces Sun, Pisces Rising. This is your forecast for the next 3 years, 2025 to 2028. So, of course, you are having a subconscious reprogramming with Pluto in your 12th house. Aries is your second house. So, it could be some fogginess or restriction around your self-worth, but you have Uranus in your fourth. So could be electrical things in your house. maybe the electrical system needs a rewiring or an upgrade, which is a pain in the ass. I know it's a ton of work. But there could also be just breakups, shakeups with your home situation. Like, could legit be an earthquake, maybe, in your home, like in your area, in your region. I don't know. That sounds a little far-fetched actually, but maybe not. Um, because I'm thinking Uranus, but I was thinking Uranus and Taurus. This is Uranus and Gemini. So electrical, communication at home, communication with your mom, communication with your children if you are a mom, maybe communication about you becoming a mom, subconsciously reprogramming, self-sabotage. Your self-worth is going to feel murky. It's going to feel a little bit uncertain. And so, yeah. Hmm. Maybe this is like healing or repairing a disconnect between your relationship with your mom, and because of your relationship with your mom, you don't feel like you would be a good mom. And maybe this is shifting that. If you're a dude watching my videos, first of all, thank you. But if you're a dude, this could be like healing your relationship as being like a mama's boy and not being such a mama's boy anymore and really growing up and cutting the umbilical cord, uh, which could be a good thing. We need more men out there. But yeah, I really would pay attention to your self-worth, your self-esteem, your boundaries, your self-sabotage. Like, try not to beat yourself up too much. Try to really embrace who you are, and your abilities and your psychic abilities and whatnot. And so, you still have the North Node in your first house for here for another year or so. And so, there's definitely the potential here for you to, um, you know, accept or deal with the Neptune Saturn in your second house energy because you have the North Node to give you maybe a little dose of confidence. But my concern would be that 12th house Pluto, but that's going to be for 18 years. So it's not like it's new energy as the Aries in your second house and Uranus in your fourth house energy is going to be. That would make Cancer your fifth house. So Pisces, yeah, and I just talked about like healing your relationship as a mom. So Pisces, if you do or do not want to get pregnant, practice accordingly. But also, maybe it's an opportunity to work with children or, be around children, be a little more playful, be a little more childlike. That could be fun. Like, really feel into that energy for you. That could be really fun for Pisces. So anyway, that's what I got for Pisces. All righty. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? I hope that that was helpful. Please check back with this video. I'll make sure that I link it in my description box so that you'll have it to reference at any time. Once again, I did not involve any other planets or lunar cycles or anything, and I know there's a couple of potent new moons. There's a potent solar eclipse in 2028, conjunct Pluto. So there was definitely further I could have gone, but honestly, guys, I don't do well multitasking anyway. And so I really wanted to leave it at just the outer planets. So this is a really overall experience. None of this is going to happen overnight. It's all going to take its time, especially with Saturn. It's all going to take its time. This is a long haul game, a long game that we're playing. So it's really about, like I said, being the hustler who can manage their mental and emotional energy, because you're not going to like write a book, finish the book, publish the book overnight. Now, I'm not saying that you won't. I'm saying it's less likely because there will be restrictions. So anyway, I hope it was helpful. Please hit the like button, drop me a comment, and let me know how you enjoyed this, or if you enjoyed this, or if you thought I nailed it or didn't nail it. Yeah, share it with your friends. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you in the regular dailies. And we have and of course, the monthly sun and rising signs. So thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Take care.